Let's talk about magic. Let's talk about when we look at someone or we look at a group of people, we see the things that they're doing and they're just like, we're just like, I could never do that. And I want to be really clear. I'm not talking about being 7 feet tall and joining the NBA. I'm talking about people that made a big change in their business or their finances, folks that have made a big change in their relationships for the better, folks that have made themselves better in terms of their fitness and physical well-being. Often we look at that thing where we can just kind of have this doubt, like, man, that's just magic. I could never do that. So today we're going to talk about shifting our mindset, where some see magic and others simply see a process. Here on this channel, we explore what strengthens our mindset so that we can have confidence, so that we can have clarity, so that we can follow through and do what really matters. If you don't know who I am, I'm Tripp Lanier. I'm a professional coach, been the host of the New Man podcast for many years. We've had millions of downloads. Also the author of This Book Will Make You Dangerous. And for whatever we discuss today, feel free to take what works best for you and just toss out the rest. All right, let's get into this story. So let's talk about magic. This is back when I was in college. We were living in a dump, and I had two other roommates, and I was a bit of a prankster, which meant that I had a lot of fun, but also lived in constant fear of retribution. So one day, one of my roommates, we'll call him Billy, he ate terribly. It's just awful diet at that time. He's having one of those frozen dinners. It's a Salisbury steak dinner. I mean, it just smelled bad. And he couldn't get into this Salisbury steak thing. So he offered it to me. Do you want this Salisbury steak? Do I want it? Yeah, I want it. I'm not going to eat the thing, but I'm going to find some way to stir up some trouble with this Salisbury steak. So Billy leaves, he goes. My other roommate, we'll call him Chris, is still asleep. And so Chris doesn't like it when you mess with his stuff, his space, his bathroom. He's understandably very neat and tidy and doesn't want anybody messing with things. So you got to mess with him, right? So I took the Salisbury steak and I throw it in the toilet and just leave it there as if somebody had gone to the restroom and failed to flush the toilet. So eventually Chris wakes up, comes out, goes into the restroom and starts to have a reaction to what he finds in the toilet. And he's grossed out, and then he's just dumbfounded. Like, what's going on? He's asking me what's happening. And I was like, hey, I didn't. First he accused me of doing something. I was like, well, oh no, God, never do that. But Billy was in there using the bathroom, and I think he may have left something in there before he left. And so meanwhile, Chris was just dumbfounded with this idea. Like, he couldn't imagine how this thing was in the toilet. In his mind, it was obviously came from a human body, but he couldn't wrap his head around the shape of it. It was the shape that threw him off. It seemed magical. At one point, he even was like, man, his ass must be shaped like a toaster oven. And that always stuck with me. So I left. Billy and Chris got their stories together and realized that I had played a prank, but I really had a lot of fun with that one and the magical Salisbury steak. So what's the point of this? Why bother going into this story? When something looks like magic, it probably isn't magic. There's most likely a very logical explanation. Instead of that thing coming from a human, it came from a processed food plant. It was a piece of processed food. Magicians understand the nature of this illusion or the nature of magic. They learn a process that they can do over and over again. We call it a trick, but it's something they practice over and over and over again. But when we're stuck in magical thinking, we get lost in the illusion, but we never tend to question it further than that. So what's the cost of doing this? What's the cost of living in this childlike state? When we live in a childlike state, we tend to put people on a pedestal. We tend to think, oh, well, that person has something that I don't have. We stay stuck here because it's safe, it's comfortable. When others have a power that we don't have, then we're essentially off the hook. We don't even have to attempt doing it. We don't have to do the hard work. We don't have to learn the process that's involved. We don't have to take risks. We don't have to make ourselves vulnerable. After all, because we're just powerless. They have something that we don't. But as long as we're hiding under our mother's skirt, so to speak, we don't see the opportunity to learn. We don't see opportunities that are all around us. And this keeps us stuck. It keeps us small. It keeps us disempowered and separate from our own potential. So what can we do instead? We got to shift from this childlike mindset into an adult mindset or into a professional mindset where kids or children see magic. The pros see a process to learn. And so that's where we can get curious. All right, that looks amazing. That looks crazy. What's the process or the skill to learn? What are the resources and skills that I would need to acquire? How did that person learn that process? Who could teach me this process? What would I need to put in place so that I actually follow through? Let's talk about what's possible when we get into this mindset or when we get into this place. Whether it's making money or it's repairing our marriage or getting fit or figuring out what's in your toilet, if we're able to see that it's not magic, we can start to see how all the pieces really fit together. When we're willing to look, we're able to see that we can find ways to learn. It has us realize that we're not kids, we're not powerless victims, that we're empowered, that so much more is possible. And as a result, we feel confident. Even if we're in a place right now where we're not happy to be, there's a peace of mind that says, you know what, I can learn. There's something here that I can learn. And that has us sleep much, much better at night. So let's flip it. What about you? Where in your life right now does something seem magical? Like that person over there or that group of people are doing something over there and it just seems magical. Like, man, how in the hell do they pull that off? What if it's just a process to learn? Have you even looked for ways to learn? You'd be amazed how many times I've been on client calls and actually Googled something that they've never Googled. They've told me, they're sitting there telling me like, man, I just don't know, man. I don't know how this thing happens. And I'll just type it up and there it is. There's the freaking answer. There's some course, there's some mentorship, there's some program right there that they could step right into. They haven't even looked. Do you even know someone who's already doing this? Have you asked them to help you? What would be possible if you just merely started that conversation? Hey, how did you get into doing ABC? What worked for you? If you were in my place, what would you do today? What would be your recommendation? Just start with those small questions and see where that leads. That's my challenge for you. Moving forward, if you'd like to take advantage of all the free resources that I have available, just go to thenewmanpodcast.com. You can go to dangerousbookstore.com to pick up my book. This book will make you dangerous. And if you'd like to learn more about coaching, how we move from information into transformation, visit tripplanier.com. Here's to you, me, all of us living with greater freedom, aliveness, love, and peace. Thank you so much for watching.